Developer times are considered the hardest challenge Crash Bandicoot games have to offer. I wanted to revisit the experience of collecting the platinum relics, but as someone who has speedrun the game for a long time, this wouldn't really be a challenge. That's why I decided to try to beat the developer times at every level without the speed shoes. The main movement tech we will be using is slide spinning, where we simply keep alternating between the slide and spin buttons. Do keep in mind that spin cannot be pressed too quickly after sliding, or the spin will be ignored and you will just stop briefly. I will cover other tricks as we encounter them. Let's start the challenge using a save file that doesn't have speed shoes unlocked. We only have 24 crystals and haven't beaten the final boss yet. In the first level, Turtle Woods, the biggest challenge is getting past the pits. Normally you have to drop down, kill the moles and reveal a trampoline to jump back up. Luckily we can use a technique called glitch high jump to clear these pits entirely. Contrary to its name, this mechanic is actually intended in the remastered version. In the original, it was a glitch that let you jump higher by pressing spin right after a slide jump. I'm glad they brought it back because it saves a lot of time in many places, although clearing these pits still requires precise timing. If you do fall into a pit, you can still jump out using the same trick. That actually happened to me here, but I still managed to beat the developer time even after missing a box earlier in the level and going back for it. That being said, if you manage to jump over most of the pits, this developer time shouldn't cause too many problems. In the next level, Snow Go, I missed the first mask, but that's fine, since you can't get a triple mask in this time trial anyway. Later in the game, triple mask becomes way more important to get through some tougher sections. This level doesn't offer anything too special, and with a clean run, beating the developer time shouldn't be too difficult. The third level is Hang 8, and here we get to use glitch high jump again to clear the first 2 steps faster. Then we reach the first jetboard section. The fastest way to move on this thing is to boost as early as possible, which is really hard to do optimally because you can't buffer the input. Every frame that passes between one boost ending and the next one starting is time loss. One thing worth mentioning is that you should always go around the whirlpools with the current, as it gives you a nice speed boost. Even without these small optimizations, the developer time should be fairly easy to beat. Next up is the pits, which is the first level with branching paths. Normally you would go left for the crystal, but in time trial the right path is much faster thanks to fewer hazards and more time crates. In the second half of the level we skip the pitch again with glitch high jumps and barely managed to beat the developer time. This level actually had a really good developer time because my run was very close to optimal all around. Next up is the first chase level, Crash Dash. This level can be tricky because you can't really see what's ahead of you, and avoiding the mines is crucial. I have memorized the layout and know the optimal lines, which makes this level a lot easier to handle. Speaking of lines, taking the shortest possible path is one of the biggest time savers in this game. Cutting corners tightly is always faster, but because of how the camera behaves, it's not always obvious where the true shortest path is, especially in straighter sections. This is exactly why time trial records in Crash 1 are still being improved. Lines can always be optimized. The boost paths are always worth taking, and aside from that there's not much else to this level. We grab the developer relic and move on to the next warp room. But first, here is a list of the times I got. In the 6th level, Snowbiz, we finally get to talk about ice physics. In the first section we can jump onto the elevator platform from surprisingly far away, and you might notice we are moving slightly faster while airborne. In this game, sliding on the ice gives you a slight speed boost which can be carried through the air. When going downhill, you want to slide onto the ice and let the ice carry you forward. If you keep spamming slide, you go slightly slower, as you can see in this comparison. However, these are just small optimizations that shouldn't be needed, as I beat the developer time by almost 4 seconds. Next we have Air Crash, where we meet the jetboard again. Here we can use the mask we picked up earlier to damage boost off a mine and jump over a barrier instead of going around it. That's really the only new optimization in this level. While the time was fairly close, the level itself shouldn't cause too much trouble. Next up is Bear It, which is the first polar bear level. In these levels, taking optimal lines is everything, along with constantly chaining speed boosts. Moving sideways with polar doesn't cost any speed, which makes line optimization the most important thing to improve your time. You want to position yourself as close to the next turn as possible. It might look awkward or suboptimal in some sections, but trust me, these levels are optimized down to the frame. The way boosts work in this game is that once a boost ends, there's a short lockout before you can boost again. However, if you jump during the boost, you cancel that lockout and can boost again immediately after landing. This creates a really satisfying movement loop where you weave between hazards using longer and shorter boosts. There is no speed difference between them, and the only reason to vary the length is to control spacing. Because the majority of these levels don't involve movement with grass, beating the developer times was not any different from playing the levels normally. This applies to Bear Down and Totally Bear as well. That said, even after missing a time grade, I got a time of 33.28 in Bear It, beating the developer time by 7 seconds. I also beat the Bear Down dev time by 11 seconds and Totally Bear by 9 seconds. Out of curiosity, I tried running these levels without unnecessary boosting, and the best I could do was Sapphire in Bear It and Bear Down and Gold in Totally Bear. Next up is another chase level, Crash Crush. I missed a time grade right at the start, but luckily the boulder collects all the boxes in this version. This level is very similar to Crash Dash, but it can cause a lot more trouble thanks to the level throwing a lot more hazards at you. On top of that, the time is fairly tight, so memorizing the level layout is very important. Next up is the Eel Deal, which is the first sewer level. This is also the first level where cycles really start to matter. Luckily the cycles line up perfectly just by moving as soon as Crash respawns. Cycles in this game behave in an interesting way. They are consistent every time you restart the time trial, but the very first time you load into a level, the cycle is different. This is because a small spawn animation plays the first time you load in, which adds a slight delay before you can move. Unfortunately, there is no way to skip the monkey bar section, but we can drop down after the halfway point and jump off the hot pipes before the invincibility runs out. Right at the end, I jump between these two enemies without taking damage. This trick is also used in full game speedruns, and it can easily kill around 14 minutes in. If I didn't do all the skips at the end, this relic would have been really close to being unobtainable. We start the next warp room with plant food. At the start we can clear this gap with a really tight glitch high jump. It's really important to save at least one mask for the final jetport section, where there are plants on both sides that can be passed without one. If you manage to save a mask for this part, this level shouldn't cause any major problems. We will skip sewer all later for now, and later I will explain why. Instead we head into Road to Ruin, where we can cut corners and skip some platforms with well-timed glitch high jumps. Other than that, there's nothing particularly special here. The same goes for the final chase level, Unbearable. Just like the other chase levels, this one is all about memorizing hazards and lines. This level is actually a lot easier than Crash Crush, and the time is also way less strict. If you manage to beat the developer time in the other two chase levels, this level shouldn't cause any problems. Let's head into the fourth warp room, which is arguably the most difficult one. Next up is Hanging Out, which many consider to be the hardest platinum relic in the game. To get the optimal cycle, I want to grab the clock at the same time the electricity in the water turns off. The electricity itself doesn't affect us, it's just a useful visual cue. Normally I use the clock's rotating animation as a cue, and here it was positioned diagonally from bottom left to top right. With this cycle everything lines up perfectly, the barrels in the first section and the enemies in the monkey bar section. We could also damage abuse at the end of the last monkey bar section like we did in Eel Deal, but I'm skipping that for safety reasons. In the last section of the level we encounter a line of nitros. Nitros in this game can behave wildly. They can randomly jump in place, and sometimes they jump very high and you can't avoid hitting them even with a slight jump. This gets even crazier when multiple are stacked together. They are also known to do some genuinely strange things during their jumping animation. I managed to beat the developer time by a second and a half, which might look easy, but without finding the right cycle this relic seems nearly impossible to get, at least without speed shoes. Next up is Digging It, which is the longest level in the game. You can't get the triple mask here, but we can use one mask in this section to get through the electric fences without waiting. These two fences never align in a way that lets you avoid waiting entirely, so make sure to save a mask for this part. Aside from that, there's nothing particularly special about this level. It's also worth noting that using any secret exit ends the time trial without averting the relic, so don't try it here. Next up is Cold Hard Crash, one of the hardest levels in the entire game. In the first section we have to revisit the ice physics. Here we can see this middle platform is covered in ice, and at first it seems like any other icy section. But there is one strange mechanic that makes this part scary every time. If you jump at the exact moment you are transitioning from icy ground to normal ground, the game registers the input but Crash doesn't react. This happens to be the case here, as the edges of this platform are considered normal ground. If you have ever died here and felt certain that you pressed jump, that's why. I won't go into the details of how we know the game still registers the input. I will cover that in a future video where I attempt platinum and developer times without time crates, so you should probably subscribe for that. In the 2D section we can luckily slide spin under the icicles without taking damage. Unfortunately I do take damage here, which means that I can't get the triple mask in the death route. This is actually the only level where entering the death route is faster for completing the level. In the death route I use one mask to get through the tightest nitro gap. If we had a triple mask here we could just slide through all of them. After that the rest of the level is fairly straightforward. With clean movement through the death route the time requirement is far from strict. Next up is Ruination, which is slightly more interesting than Road to Ruin, but not by much. Jumping around the rotating flames can be tricky, but the biggest threat is the rotating pillars. It is very easy to die in this section, because the depth perception makes it unclear how far away from the camera the pillars are, but with enough practice this section becomes much more manageable. The rest of the level is mostly about cutting corners and skipping platforms with glitch high jumps. The last level in the fourth warp room is Behaving. In many ways this level is similar to Digging It, there is not much that is special here. One unique trick is that you can jump over a fence with a glitch high jump if the cycle doesn't line up. Slide spinning is fast enough to avoid the bees, so there is little risk of dying to them. The developer time in this level was very good, as I barely beat it with a very decent run. Before we head into the fifth warp room, here are the times I got. The first level in the fifth warp room is Piston It Away. This level is actually very straightforward because it's so heavily cycle based that saving or losing significant time is difficult. There are still a few unique things, like wrapping time crates right next to nitros. In other levels you could leave them since the nitro detonator would collect them automatically, but here the detonator is in the death route where we are obviously not going. At the end of the level you can save several seconds by getting on the rising piston early. I missed it, but I managed to do this cool strat where I land on it while it was going down. By jumping immediately I can reach the higher platform, which still saves multiple seconds. Obviously this trick wasn't necessary for a death time, which I managed to beat by 8 seconds. The next 3 levels are not particularly interesting. Rocket and Pack Attack introduce a jetpack, but that means we don't really benefit from the speed juice until the home stretch. I should mention here that Rocket was actually the last level I played in this challenge, because collecting the last crystal locks you out of all the levels until you beat the final boss and obtain the speed juice. You don't really benefit from them in Rocket, and I obviously didn't need to use them, as you can see from the full playthrough video I have linked in the description. This is also why I started this challenge with 24 crystals collected. Let's continue to Night Fight, which is essentially Turtle Woods in the dark without the difficult pit obstacles. This level doesn't have anything special in it except that the developer time was pretty tight. The last level in the fifth warp room is Spaced Out, which is very similar to Piston It Away in that it is highly cycle dependent. One of the coolest tricks here is killing a certain enemy with a slide. Everyone knows how frustrating these enemies are, so here's a pro tip. Always slide them. Spinning will get you killed as soon as their tentacles start moving down, but you can safely slide under them until the tentacles are fully horizontal. It gets really weird when you are above them. The tentacles clearly make contact, but sliding makes it so they deal no damage. To make things even more confusing, you can't slide them when their tentacles are lifting up, as you will see in this developer relic run. Basically, the tentacle hitboxes stay active in their original position until the animation finishes, except when sliding from above, in which case it doesn't matter. Amazing work by the developers. Other than these interesting mechanics, the level doesn't have much else going on. The time requirement was much tighter compared to Piston It Away, so finding a good cycle in this level definitely helps. The last level of the game is Totally Fly, which is essentially Night Fight again. For that reason there's nothing particularly special about it except that the developer time was fairly close. Now we only have one level left to cover. Let's head back to Warp Room 3 and I will explain why we skipped Sewer for later. Well, this video was supposed to be about collecting Platinum Relics, but after getting all of them I noticed I had also gotten 21 developer times out of 27. After playing through the game for Platinums I was really disappointed by how little challenge there was, as I got most of them first try. This made no sense to me because I was supposed to be at a disadvantage. It turns out I actually wasn't. Check out this comparison. Here we can see the difference between sprinting, slide jumping with speed shoes and slide spinning. And as you can see, slide spinning is actually just as fast as slide jumping. But for some reason, even with that in mind, Sewer later turned out to be an incredible challenge. At the start of the level we have to hug the right side wall very closely to get alongside the flamethrower enemy and slide under him before he turns towards us. After that we have to do a really tight slide jump to get over the electric water. What makes this jump so hard is the low ceiling, as using a glitch high jump here would cause us to bonk and drop down too early. Next we have to cut the corner very tightly without getting hit by the blade, which wouldn't even be possible if we hadn't landed the slide jump just seconds earlier. Because we didn't take damage anywhere, we are able to grab the triple mask. It makes all the enemies and hazards trivial, but it also slightly increases our movement speed, which turns out to be very important, as you are about to see. After this, the level is mainly about taking optimal lines to save as much time as possible. At the end, we intentionally take damage from the last enemy, because it lets us land sooner to start slide spinning again. We reached the end of the level with a time of 31.58 seconds, which is only 0.4 seconds faster than the developer time. It really doesn't get any closer than that, and we did pretty much everything perfectly. This is exactly the kind of challenge I was expecting when I started this project, and I'm glad at least one level in this game demanded this level of optimization. But this raised a question: how did the developers achieve this time? Almost every other level was very generous with developer times, so there has to be something speed shoes do better in this level specifically. It turns out that having a triple mask boosts your movement speed significantly more when combined with speed shoes. On top of that, speed shoes are simply faster everywhere when you have to jump constantly, because they increase your movement speed while airborne. Using speed shoes with slide jumping I managed to get a time of 27.51, which is a huge improvement. And that's everything about this challenge. All 27 developer relics achieved with 100% intentional movement. I hope you enjoyed it. While looking up platinum times, I came across a funny comment about how difficult the platinum relics really are. If you have collected all of them, even with speed shoes, consider yourself a god gamer. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you will join me next time as I go after the developer times in Crash 3.